Howdy folks, welcome to Rustic Garage. Last week we didn't have a video. Combination of things happened between work, waiting on parts, and taking a little trip to Texas. We didn't get anything done. So for this week's video, we're doing something different. While in Texas, I went to the Texas Renaissance Festival and I purchased this little Tomahawk at one of the little booths in there. They didn't have a sheath for it, so they made me this little cardboard thing so I can carry it around. The manufacturer sells one I'm not a fan of, mostly because you take it out and they'll use the hammer end of it. You'd have to have the blade open. I don't want that. So I'm gonna make a mask for it. I have some leftover leather and some hardware and stuff from other projects I've had in the past. So let's get after it. All right, start making our sheath. First thing we need to do is remove this piece of crap. Get lined up on our cardboard here. Make a template. Here on our cardboard, grab a fine tip Sharpie or a pen. Pencil could work too. And just trace it out. A little careful on the blade, you don't want to screw that up. All right, that's our general shape. And we also want to decide how far over the blade we want this to go. So we don't need to cover the whole thing, so just make some marks roughly where you want. I take some kind of straight edge and line up our two marks. You can use a ruler, you can use another piece of cardboard or paper, whatever you got. Now this is the profile of where it's going to sit inside of the mask. Now what we want to do is have a section where the stitching, we need some space for that to be where it's not interfering with the blade. So I'm going to go about 1/4 inch to 3/8 off of here. You can measure it, but eyeball is okay. Now, if we're doing this in two pieces, we want to also bring that piece up here and then down. All right, so this is where our stitching is going to go. At this point, I'm going to cut it out. This is where it'd be easier to use paper or a better pair of scissors. I'm not worried about saving this whole piece here, so I have a bunch of this stuff. Cut outside the lines because it gives you a little extra material to work with when you transfer this over. That's roughly where that's going to sit. And here and here is where all the stitching is going to go. I take this piece, I'm actually going to copy it over here. If you know it's on like a heavy steel table, you can take a little magnet, hold it down. So I matched this piece, but I also want to add a little bit of material to the second piece that will fold up and hold it in place so it doesn't just slide off. Come inside the stitching area here, start there, and then I can bring it down or I can just start right here. There's good. This is about where our snap is going to go right there. So it'll fold over and it'll be another snap on this piece. Be real careful right here. There's our two pieces, and this piece will fold like that, put a little dimple there, and that's where it'll lock it in place. Just like that. Boom. Now, something's gonna make this a little easier is to actually just make this one piece. Now I already got these pieces mostly straight here on the top. Put a piece of tape over this and unfold it. You can just transfer that right to the leather or transfer it to cardboard, make a new template like I did. The check lines is for where the leather folds over. And yes, you're still gonna have a little bit of extra material up here where you can, stitch or whatever. I did this already once. I just wanted to show you how I did it. That's the original piece. I made this a little bigger actually. That's what we're doing. Had this extra piece of leather from another project. Kept it as a piece of scrap. Think I'd use it for something small, and I'm going to. So there's a little dimple there, a little flaw in the leather. I can actually line that up pretty good right about there. Use your magnet. Hold it flat to the table. Take that off. That's what we're cutting out. we go. All right, I'm gonna figure out how to make a crease in this leather here so it'll sit flat. Another thing I'm thinking about doing is actually adding a piece here in the middle that the blade will actually sit up against so it doesn't cut through. I think I might do that. I'm basically just gonna do what I did for the first part. Thicker in there, a little bit of a gap there for water and whatnot to get out. All right, guys, I'm not going to use this. I don't have any adhesive, and that was the only way to hold it together and punch the holes at the same time that I can think of. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep this simple. If I have to make another one later, I'll make a new one. So we're just going to go with it like this. We need to find some way to kind of pinch that shut. I think I'm just going to soak it in some water, put it between a couple pieces of wood, and put a bunch of weight on top of it. That'll flatten it out. 2x6, got our soaked piece of leather, fold it where I want it, place it there, right there, that's good. Okay, our 6x6, right on top. Now I need to put some weight on there. And there we go. All right, so it's been about half an hour. I've already checked it a couple times, and I think it's about ready. It's nice and flat, lined up pretty good. Not perfect, but just about there. So now what we need to do is take a hole punch, and we're gonna do a few holes along that edge without going inside where the blade goes. Before I do that, I'll take our template, take our old template, that rides right there. I'm gonna transfer it to here first before I transfer it to the leather. Actually use the hammer on this to drive these holes in. Not perfect, but you won't see it when it's all wrapped up. All right, there we go. Now I'm just gonna transfer these holes to our leather. Make sure I'm keeping these lined up. I'm gonna start threading the leather strap. Put one end through here. I did choose a hole size slightly small so that this would be tight. All right, I've got that through. Just gonna tie a knot on this side. Hold that through. Now I want to keep the dark side up on the other end, cutting it at a sharp point that goes through the hole a little easier. I'm going to come around the back side, try to thread it in. So what I have to do is actually take your punch and work it through to stretch it. You know, get nothing in there. Grab a hold of it. The pliers might actually help with this, but I'm too lazy to go find some. As you can see, there's a little twist there. I want to get that twist out of it. Okay, let's all go in one direction. All right, that's good and tight. We're gonna keep punching these out. All right, we're gonna stop that part for now and finish punching these holes out. All right, now we can keep wrapping our cord around. All right, there it is. See how it fits. There we go. All right, so now we gotta mark our point for our snap, and then we're gonna have to undo this. We're not done with this yet. But set it right there. This is one of the pieces that's gonna go on for our little snap. So this hole is the hole we're gonna match here. This is my little hole punch kit I got from Amazon. What I use to cut the other hole out. Mostly just use it for making gaskets and stuff. All right, so that's literally one size down. We'll use that. 9/32. Got a little window on the side there so you can try to center up your mark. Piece goes in there. There's that. And then we'll put the other piece in there. What this does is, there's a little lip in here. Put that extra material there on here, and when you smack it with a little tool it has, it pushes it in and spreads it out. So it holds on real tight. Well, I think that's it. All right, we gotta do the other side over here. Put that there and mark it. There we go. And then we're gonna wrap all this. All right, now we're gonna cut the other hole. So this piece needs to go up. So the other flat piece is gonna go through like that. There we go. Come all the way through. And for this one, I actually have the anvil for it. That piece down like that. Go. Not perfect, but seems to work. There's some cheap hardware I got years ago. I have no idea where I got it for, but I had it, so. Now we need to rewrap this, but we're gonna do a little different this time. Instead of having one tight knot up close, I'm gonna leave a tail. I'm gonna do it up top at the bottom. All right, so I'm gonna put the tail going down. So this length here, we'll go ahead and make a knot. So I did before. Put that little tail there. Nice and tight. There we go. Good tight knot. Now as I start looping this around, I'm gonna leave it really loose. And I'll show you why when I get to the end. All right, now we go that thread through, put it nice and loose, take this tail end and feed it back all the way through here. Make sure the right side is up. All right, what we're gonna do is we're gonna start tightening it up. So cinching that down. All right, I'm gonna pull the tail end. Or maybe not. Need some pliers for this part. That's not good. Well, that broke off. So we're gonna improvise. That piece is nice and tight in there, shouldn't come out. I'm just gonna cut that tail off here, and that'll be our little handle. There we go. That's how she's done. All right, so little handle, put a little cord lock on there or something, or just wrap it around. There, not coming off. All right, so I decided not to leave just that giant loop. I went ahead and cut off here in the middle, tied this knot there, and it helps keep this corner together because it was pulling against it when we were going well, so. Pull nice and tight there. Just a little overhand knot there. What you want to do is just throw this under the hammer pole there. Slide it in from the top. Careful not to cut yourself. There we go. Snap it on. Get you secure. So I'm not actually going to bother staining this. I want to actually use this pattern again. I still have the cardboard pattern. I'm just going to make it out of some thicker leather. And do it again, and obviously use some better hardware. But this is good enough for now, just to keep cutting myself if I have it in my belt or something. Cut my gear if I have it in my pack. So there it is. That's our H&B Forge large Camp Hawk with our homemade mask. If you're doing something like this, you don't have to buy leather, obviously. I just had this extra piece laying around from a hide I bought years ago. If you have an old pair of boots, an old belt, I've actually used a weightlifting belt to make a knife sheath before. And it's just temporary, so make it work. So that's it for this video. I did buy one other thing at the Renaissance Fair that I will be working on this channel. So come back for that. That'll be a surprise. But the next video will be on the Bronco, I promise. If I don't, I'll wait until it's done. So go ahead and hit like, subscribe, leave a comment. If you have any other ideas on how to do this, any recommendations for specific hardware, material, whatever, let me know. Peace.